We are headed to Blaze Pizza because we are going to do a scientific, in-depth review of their keto crust. But then we're going to order a pizza with specific ingredients, specific toppings to ultimately make the best keto pizza that you can possibly get at Blaze Pizza. So what that means is we'll break down the different ingredients, we'll break down the different toppings and what is in those toppings, and therefore determine if it should be on the pizza or if we should absolutely avoid it. So we'll talk about things like canola oil, we'll talk about soy, all this. You'll know how to make a clean pizza if you're gonna have a clean cheat at Blaze Pizza. So let's go ahead, let's hit the road, and let's have some fun. All right, so we just pulled up the Blaze Pizza, and here's what I'm gonna do. It's a little bit different. I've already ordered the pizza. Okay, I already know what's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick it up, and I'm gonna bring it back here in the truck. I'm gonna set up a mobile hotspot. I'm gonna go through as if I was ordering it online. That way I can go list by list or ingredient by ingredient and break down what's good, what's bad, and what's on this particular pizza that I got. So we're gonna have some fun with this. So let's go ahead and let's head on in and grab our pizza really quick. Hey, but first, do make sure you hit that red subscribe button and then please hit that bell icon. And then also, please check out Magic Spoon down below in the description. They're a huge supporter of this channel. They've sponsored this video. They're a low-carb keto cereal. These guys are killing it. They're doing it so right. It's so awesome. And quite frankly, if you're having a cheat meal with some pizza that's keto friendly, you might want to have a cheat dessert with some cereal. So anyhow, check them out down below. You won't be disappointed. And thank you, Magic Spoon, for supporting this channel. So link with some special access, special pricing stuff down below. Okay, we're back in the truck. Okay, back in the truck. Got our pizza. Let's go ahead and break it down, see what we got in here. I'm going to fire up the laptop, and we're going to take a look at what exactly I got and what you should avoid. Let's have some fun. This kind of reminds me of the days when I was 300 pounds and I used to go sit in my car and eat things like pizza and do things like that in my car when I was hiding. Ooh, let's see what we got here. That's actually a pretty clean looking pizza, to be completely honest. Not bad at all. All right, let's break down what's on it. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna flip the camera around so I can show you like what the screen looks like to order, but I will tell you, we went ahead and we utilized the main keto crust. Don't be confused by the cauliflower crust. The cauliflower crust is just a gluten-free option. Okay, it is not necessarily keto friendly. Now, here's what's inside the actual keto crust. Now take a look at this. Okay, so here's the ordering screen. So obviously you can choose a classic dough, you can choose a regular gluten-free, then you can choose a keto crust, gluten-free, but then they do usually have a cauliflower form that isn't showing up here. If you go in, they have a cauliflower. This is what the pizza looks like. This is actually the keto crust. Pretty darn good. Now, here's what they do. Okay, they don't use almond flour. They're using cauliflower, but then they're also using flax, which is interesting. And then they're using cheese. They're using part skim mozzarella, which is not the best cheese to use. It's not the healthiest cheese, but it's also not the worst. Now, if you're getting a keto pizza from somewhere, you're probably not doing a super clean keto diet, or you're at least having a cheat meal. So it's not the end of the world. So we also have eggs in here, which isn't a big deal. We have yeast, which isn't a big deal. They do add whey protein in there, probably just to give it a little bit more volume, but they also add casein protein, which I kind of wish that they would have done without, because the casein protein, that's where the issues lie with dairy. So I try to avoid casein protein, but I think what they're doing is they're trying to just give it a little bit more structure, because casein protein does provide structure, and without it, maybe it would be a little bit floppier, maybe it would be a little bit soggier. But anyhow, just nothing to really worry about. Don't trip out too much about it. All right, let's continue on down the line. Now, I am glad that they're using flaxseed instead of almond. A typical almond flour crust gets a little bit old. Super high omega-6, not the best thing you want to be doing. So at least when we're using flax, we're getting an omega-3 rich seed. So we're getting a little bit more benefit there. Now, it is important to note that too much flax is fairly estrogenic. Okay, we don't want to have a bunch of flax, but at least we get the benefit of it being an omega-3. So we have that working to our advantage. But I think the bigger benefit is going to be the soluble fiber piece. Okay, flax is very high in soluble fiber, which means, okay, you're going to be satiated, so you're probably not going to overdo it on this pizza as much, but you're also going to be getting a blood sugar effect that's modulating blood sugar that you wouldn't necessarily get with almonds. Almond crust, unfortunately, when it goes into the oven, it denatures those polyunsaturated fats, those omega-6s that are in the almonds. So it makes it quite, well, I don't want to call it toxic, but it basically makes it more unhealthy. At least with flax, we're a little bit more stable there. So I like that idea. Anyhow, overall, a good crust. Just remember, the regular cauliflower gluten-free crust is not the one you want to go for. You want to go for their standard keto crust. Okay, now let's talk about some toppings here. Okay, so when I built this pizza, I went ahead and I did the regular keto crust. So I select that bad boy there. Okay, then when I go down to choose my sauce, this is something super important. It may seem like something that's really, really basic, but it's one of the most important things you need to be paying attention to. Go for either the spicy red sauce or go for the regular red sauce. In this case, I went with the red sauce because I might give some to my son a little bit later and I don't want it to be too spicy. Here's what's going on with that and here's why. Their red sauce and their spicy red sauce use extra virgin olive oil. That is unheard of. You do not see that in typical fast food settings or in any kind of pizza place, right? That's just not what you're going to come across. Usually it's canola oil, usually it's soy oil, which hugely just terrible fats, especially the soy oil, which is in a lot of marinaras because it's such a polyunsaturated fatty acid. It gets so denatured, it goes through lipid peroxidation, which means it basically goes rancid and oxidizes inside your body, which can trigger oxidized cholesterol. It's bad news bears, bad news stuff. But when you go with extra virgin olive oil, even if it's heated at a relatively moderate temperature, it's usually going to be okay if it's actual real extra virgin olive oil and not refined stuff. So super cool there. Now, you know me talking about olive oil. Okay, there's this huge response that it has in the body with something called oleic acid. So we have a huge fat burning potential because it activates different receptor proteins called PPAR alpha, which upregulates uncoupling proteins, which helps regulate core body temperatures. Basically helps you burn some fat indirectly, but also has an effect on basically a vasal response. So basically it has a response with a receptor within your gut that travels to your brain and helps you feel a bit more satiated. Point is, olive oil is a superfood, but it's more about what you're not getting by having the soy and the canola. Avoid that stuff. It's also important that I note that with the red sauce, there's no sugar. Usually with marinara, you're going to see some sugar in there. So what's wrong with the white cream sauce? Well, in addition to having a bunch of cream and a bunch of dairy, we also run into a problem with some of the other things that are added. For one, they're adding cornstarch. Okay, that's a thickener for those cream sauces. So you usually want to avoid the cream sauces. Yeah, the cream is one thing, but the cornstarch is another situation. And of course, we've got a little bit of whey protein, which really isn't the end of the world, but it has cheese flavoring in it. Why go that route? You don't need to. Just add the cheese to your pizza. Don't get the cream sauce if you're just having cheese flavorings. That's the stuff that could really cause a problem. Okay, we don't know if there's other natural flavors in there. We don't know what's going on. Let's just be careful with that and avoid that. The pesto is made with canola. So if you're going to have pesto sauce, then guess what? You're just basically having a bunch of canola oil. Low quality omega-6, we don't really want that. Derived from rapeseed, which really is a toxic plant to begin with. Okay, so we don't want that oil. Okay, that oil is overused, polyunsaturated fatty acid and monounsaturated to some degree, but it's just not stable stuff, highly GMO, just avoid it. Okay, speaking of cheeses, let's take a look at what they have in the way of the cheeses here. Okay, we got shredded mozzarella, gorgonzola, parmesan, ricotta, feta, goat, vegan, or no cheese. All right, well, I'll tell you what I put on this pizza in just a second. Normally, they have an option for ovolini, or if you get their standard keto pizza, which is kind of their standard, not build your own, well, then you have ovolini, which is really just dairy, it's just cream and cultures and salt. That's it. So if that ovolini cheese is an option, go for that. Please do. It's good, clean stuff. But let's break down the other cheeses. I'll show you what I got. You might notice I don't have any mozzarella on this. I don't have any shredded cheese. Why is that? Well, normally I would go for it. But the shredded cheese that Blaze uses, unfortunately, has canola oil in it. I just don't want to have that. I just don't need that. I'd rather get real mozzarella and real good quality cheese. Okay, so let's just go ahead and just forego that altogether. Okay, well, we're going to skip the shredded mozzarella. But what about gorgonzola? Gorgonzola is a little bit better because it's cultured and it's aged, but I still didn't put any on this pizza. Parmesan. I did put Parmesan on. Why is Parmesan okay? Generally, the longer the cheese is aged, the better. Now, Parmesan is aged for usually at least 12 months, which means a lot of the water ends up getting removed through that drying process, which means it removes a lot of the lactose, it removes any of the milk sugars or a majority of it, but you also end up getting a process of culturing for a little bit longer. The microbes in the cheese end up being able to break it down a little bit more and change the protein structures so it can potentially be easier to digest. So Parmesan, I'm cool with, but it's kind of an acquired taste on pizza, so no big deal if you don't want it. Then the next one I go with is feta, okay? Sheep's feta and also goat cheese. Why these cheeses? Okay, you can see a little bit of the goat cheese in there. Yummy stuff. But goat cheese is different. You see, goat cheese doesn't have the same protein that cattle cheese does, that cow cheese does. So it's really interesting stuff. Let me explain what's going on here. And I know you're probably getting a little bit bored of the science, but that's what makes this channel what it is. See, a couple thousand years ago, there was a genetic mutation in domesticated cattle. Okay, and what this caused is basically the protein to change. It went from an A2 casein to what's now called an A1 casein. Basically what that means is it changes form in your body and it triggers a different response, and it acts as what is called an opioid in your body. It's why you get addicted to cheese in a lot of ways. Now, it's something known as BCM7. Does that mean that you need to always avoid regular cheese? No, not at all. But my point is that goat cheese is some really epic stuff and actually has some various health properties. The cool thing is the different microbes that are in goat cheese cause goat cheese to have that unique taste. Well, that unique taste is caprylic acid, which is a medium chain triglyceride. Now, if you do keto, that's pretty awesome. You basically got a cheese that has MCTs in it. That is epic in and of itself. So heck yeah, goat cheese for the win all the time. And feta, I cannot confirm if it's sheep's feta or not. I hope that it is. Otherwise, it's not the end of the world. So that's the cheese options there. Now, let me explain something about what you might want to avoid at all costs. All right, it's tapioca flour. Okay, then it's canola oil, safflower oil, and natural flavors. Not good stuff. It's not dairy, it's not animal product, but it's product, all right. It's some kind of product. So you're better off to go no cheese if you're going to want to have the vegan cheese. Seriously, don't mess up your ketogenic diet by doing that. Please remember that a large part of the goal of doing a good, properly crafted ketogenic diet is to instill an anti-inflammatory response within your body via the modulation or the inhibition of the NLRP3 inflammasome and nuclear factor kappa B. These are processes both at the genetic level and other levels to help modulate inflammation within the body. Don't eat a lot of processed garbage. You can actually get a Blaze pizza, keto pizza, minimally processed if you ask me. Okay, let's move on to the toppings and choose what to get that's the best. Now, if you watch my channel a lot, you know that I'm actually a fan of making it a little bit leaner with the meats. So I usually recommend going for the grilled chicken. Okay, why is that? Because it's going to be the leanest. I don't want to see you having a bunch of Italian sausage or a bunch of pepperoni or a bunch of crumbled meatballs. And the reason is mainly because we cannot control the fatty acid profile of what that animal ate. We don't know the fat content of that, and it's much harder to control. Let me explain it like this. You could have one simple slice of pizza that has 5 pieces of sausage on it. But depending where that cut of meat came from or where that sausage came from, it could have 20 grams of fat or there could be 40 grams of fat. It is so difficult to determine your macronutrients. It's so difficult to determine your calories that way. Get leaner proteins and then add the fat's other sources. I don't care if you're adding it with butter, but just do it in a controlled fashion. But the other thing is that we don't know where this meat came from for the most part. And when you look at sausage and stuff like that, toxins, all that stuff tend to get stored in the fats. Just go with the leaner proteins. I do know, though, that their applewood bacon is pretty darn clean. And bacon, in the grand scheme of things, is actually fairly high in the way of saturated fat, which is a lot more stable. So I actually added bacon to my pizza. Okay, now, again, you might deal with some natural flavors, not the best thing in the world, but come on, it's keto, and it's probably gonna be better than the Italian sausage or the pepperoni, which is gonna potentially have nitrites in it too, which we maybe don't wanna have excess of. So this is what mine looks like. I will be on, well, that's an artichoke. We got some chicken here, which I will honestly say feels a little bit starchy, like it might have some modified food starch in it. So a little bit disconcerting, but not the end of the world, okay? Now let's take a look at some of the veggies that I have on here. Well, spoiler alert, I already told you. Artichokes. Why do I have artichokes in there? Prebiotic fibers, baby. That's exactly what I want on a ketogenic diet. Some of the concerns that people have with a ketogenic diet is that you're going to have less of a diverse gut microbiome because you don't have as many different diverse foods coming in. Well, realistically, you should. You should have a plethora of foods, but when it comes down to artichokes, you have a nice prebiotic fiber. So what that means is it acts as fertilizer in the gut and can potentially help grow some of the existing gut bacteria. Pretty awesome stuff, and definitely something that I like on a pizza. So you're going to get a prebiotic effect that's going to keep you satiated, but also a bunch of other benefits too. Okay, next one that I would add, I'm going to skip the banana peppers just because I just don't want the extra salt. Black olives are totally okay. I didn't put them on mine. Fresh basil would be okay. I'm not going to do it on this pizza, but again, you're going to be okay there. Now, let's talk about garlic here. Here's what I want you to note. We've got garlic or we have roasted garlic. Which one should we go for here? We're going to go for regular garlic. Why? Because I don't want them to cook the ever-living daylights out of the garlic. Okay, it's already going to be roasted. If it goes in the oven again, it's getting roasted again. Plus, it's probably been roasted and sitting out there. I'd rather have it fresh and then add it. Here's a fun fact about garlic. If they cut up the garlic and then they let it sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes, probably longer, it allows the activation of something called allicin. Okay, allicin is what's important in garlic. Okay, so we want that to activate, and it doesn't get activated unless it's been cut and then sitting. Once it's been toasted, you have a very limited amount of time to be able to consume it and get the benefit. So I'd rather have it raw and then added to the pizza, cooked for a little bit, then eat it relatively quickly. Okay, moving on down the line. Kalamata olives didn't add to this pizza, but they would be good. I did add some mushrooms, which for whatever reason, yeah, I do see them in there. Vitamin D2, which converts into vitamin D3 if you have the right enzymatic processes within the body. So we'll see that going. Then I've got, again, we could add red onion if we wanted to. Definitely skip the pineapple. No need for that. Roasted red peppers would be okay. I didn't add them because the extra carbs, just not worth it. Here's a big one we need to focus on, spinach. I did not add spinach, okay? Here's what's up. I like spinach, but it needs to be steamed or it needs to be cooked. Otherwise, you have too much in the way of oxalates. Do not eat a bunch of raw spinach. A little bit now and then is fine, but raw spinach chelates a lot of the minerals, okay? Now, here's the issue. When you're doing a ketogenic diet, it's already easy to lose a lot of minerals because your kidneys expel extra water because of low levels of insulin. What this means is that if you end up having a bunch of oxalates from raw spinach, it's going to chelate, bind to magnesium, to potassium, to calcium, to these things that are important, copper, zinc, and it causes the body to just excrete them and not absorb them. This is a big deal on keto. It's a big deal in general, but a big deal on keto. So spinach, you would have to verify and make sure that it's cooked long enough. Again, I like wilted spinach. I like steamed spinach, but I'm not going to put it on the pizza because I just don't think it's going to give me the positive net effect that I really want. So I would skip that. When I first picked it up, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't order broccoli, but then I remember I did. I had checked the seasonal veggies box. I figure that it's a good chance that it's going to be a good veggie. In this case, broccoli. Heck yes, this just worked out great. Broccoli, super rich in what's called sulforaphane, super rich in indole-3 carbinol, diindolylmethane, also known as DIM, which is a good anti-estrogenic, or it actually helps your liver process estrogen. So if you're a male, super good for you. Okay, now let's talk about some of the drizzles here. Blaze gives you an option to add some toppings. Barbecue sauce, no go. It's got sugar. Please avoid. Okay, buffalo sauce, more than likely soybean oil. I know most of the buffalo sauces out there are canola oil or soybean oil based, so let's avoid. Olive oil drizzle, I went ahead and added that. Okay, pesto drizzle, nope, canola oil. Balsamic, sugar. Buttermilk ranch, nope. Sea salt, it does not need salt. Oregano, yeah, you're good to go with oregano. Why the heck not? That's it for the toppings, like super clean. So look at this stuff. Okay, I've got a keto crust, I've got a keto crust pizza, okay, and I'm dropping all over my laptop. And I've got broccoli on it. I've got mushrooms on it. I've got a no sugar, extra virgin olive oil marinara. Okay, I've got goat cheese. I've got lean chicken. I've got everything I can control, a little bit of bacon, and a crust that's made with flax. Tell me that that is unhealthy. That's a pretty darn good, clean pizza to the point where I'm going to eat it right in front of you because I got nothing to hide. If this had a bunch of part skim mozzarella on it, I might be questioning myself a little bit. The lean chicken on here might have some food starch in it. I might feel that later. Nah, not really. But seriously, okay, way to go. Like, usually, like, I'm not going to throw certain brands under the bus, but one particular pizza brand starts with the word California. Their cauliflower crust, to me, is greasy and it seems caloric. I like the fact that Blaze Pizza is being a little bit different. Let me just eat these crumbs off my laptop. They're being different in that they're using flax. They're being more progressive with how they look at their keto pizzas. So I commend them for that. But also the extra virgin olive oil utilization is just so awesome. So now you know how to build a perfect keto pizza from Blaze that's not going to have a negative impact on you unless you're eating it 3 times a day or probably once a day. Enjoy yourself. Have some fun. This is not the world to just get locked down by the keto police and be told what you can eat and can't eat. Live within your realm. Be able to educate yourself so you can make good decisions. Please, by all means, please do subscribe to this channel, but also please don't forget to check out Magic Spoon down below and support them. That's how you support this channel. Get some good, tasty cereal. Check them out. Anyhow, as always, I'll see you tomorrow.